how you can utilize, for instance, our growth marketing specialist, which is Alex. And I used Bomnin Chevrolet. And I asked it to provide a summary of key reviews. And I literally gave it all of the links for Cars.com, Kelley Blue Book, Yelp, and Google. So think of, and there were tens of thousands of reviews, by the way. So I asked it to provide a summary of key reviews and extract the information that we need to know about it. So here's what it did. It went through all of that literally in, I asked at 1:36, and literally immediately it did that review with all of those and said, okay, here's what's working. Your sales team performance, here's the strength. Here are the key players, literally calling out the individuals who were mentioned in those reviews. Here's the facility. Here's the positive feedback. Here's the quick service when done right, because obviously there were some issues where it wasn't. But what's not working? Service department issues, numerous complaints with the service department, specifically poor communication, long wait times, etc. The post-sale customer service, pricing transparency, inconsistent experiences. So it then starts to talk about, well, here's how we can improve CSI. And it goes through training, process improvement, different feedback loops, what to do in terms of consistent communication, and highlighting these core items. So then I asked the system to work literally with our sales manager. So I used the marketing agent and I asked the marketing agent to work with our sales manager. So two AI agents started to work together. And I wanted them to create the training. So what they did was they started to create a service department overhaul that include excellence in automotive sales as a training program. There's a customer communication module, service process efficiency in terms of intake procedures, diagnostic efficiency best practices, time management for technicians, conflict resolution, de-escalation techniques. You're getting a lot of bad reviews. How do we sit down and take a bad situation or people that don't want to hear bad news about their vehicle? How do we de-escalate? How do we have empathy training? How do we learn how to really work with this? And then start to create different standard operating procedures for the service department. So all of these things started to go through, including pricing transparency, all the different SOPs for the pricing process, et cetera, et cetera. And then what I asked it to do, so you can just see all the information that started to come in, and I'm not going to go into huge detail, but I'm happy to answer more questions later. It creates an implementation plan in terms of different phases, how to manage it. So then I asked simply, what's the most important thing we can do immediately for improvement? So it took all of that long list and it said, hey, right now, the most important and immediate action for improvement is to overhaul the service department communication process. Great. So it's now sitting down and saying, here's a rapid action plan to do this immediately. Emergency service department training session over 1 to 2 days. Implement customer communication checkpoints, create and deploy a service communication toolkit, establish service communication champions, implement daily huddles, launch a customer feedback response system, have a 2-week intensive monitoring, and a quick customer survey. Okay, great. So now what I did was I asked it to start to expand on the emergency service department training for the session and provide a detailed breakdown of the agenda. So now it sits down and literally breaks down. Here's the welcome and introduction, understanding the customer journey, communication skills workshop, including active listening techniques, empathy training, nonverbal communication, so that people understand body language, tone of voice with role playing, technician to layman translation. So techniques for explaining complex technical issues in simple terms. And then setting and managing expectations. So you see how this is broken out in day one and then into day two. Then what I asked it to do was we want the dealer principal to make an opening statement before the session begins to highlight. And then I used Bomnin Chevrolet so that it would really capture what was important to them. And then it started to highlight, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today for this critical training session. As the dealer principal of Bomnin Chevrolet, I want to take a moment to emphasize why we're all here and the importance of what we're about to undertake. And it literally created the full speech. Now you'll notice here, include 1 or 2 specific negative reviews. So then I asked it, add the actual quotes. based on the review. And this is the quote that it added. This is the worst place for service. Please save yourself time and do not purchase cars here, et cetera, et cetera. So within, again, 10, 15 minutes, all of this was outlined, and the starting point was doing a full review of thousands, literally tens of thousands of customer reviews from 4 key review websites. So that's another example of being able to utilize and have different agents work together.